Tonight we begin with a major problem facing the South African government: drug addiction. Addiction to drugs is a reality and becoming a bigger challenge every day. A new way of sharing illicit drug is making the situation even more complicated. From Johannesburg, reporter Thuso Khumalo looks at the work of those who have taken it upon themselves to fight drug abuse.
32-year-old Spokesperson Vilakazi is a former drug addict living in Johannesburg. For the past 2 years, he has lived a clean life. He says he decided to quit doing drugs and pursue photography after seeing his life was falling apart. Now he's back to the streets, not for more drugs, but to persuade those still hooked to quit as well. He counsels them, buys them illegal food, and urges them to go to rehabilitation centers. When they are sick, he urges them to go to the clinic.
They know about the dangers. They know what the drugs are doing to them, but then some of them, they're like, there's no need for me to stop because I'll go back to reality, go back to my problems and stuff. So they think that by taking drugs, it's eliminating their problems.
His biggest worry is the latest method of taking these drugs, popularly known as Bluetooth. This is a method where an addict injects a drug into their bloodstream and other addicts draw out his blood and injects it into their own bloodstream. With nyaope, a concoction of dagga, heroin, antiretroviral drugs, red poison and acid being the most popular drugs amongst the youngsters, Vilakazi says he fears that if they survive the fatal effects of the drugs' ingredients, they are likely to contract HIV and other blood-transmitted diseases such as hepatitis. His message is slowly finding acceptance to his friends. Hooked by a friend into drugs, 23-year-old Siyena Naighton says he now spends each day searching for money to feed his addiction. He is grateful people like Vilakazi have encouraged him to find other means of making a living instead of stealing. And Naighton says the will to quit drugs is gradually overwhelming him.
It is a dream for me to change right now because my life is terrible because I can't do another things, I'm always running after my addictions.
He is already warning those not hooked never to try drugs, especially the youth.
Stay away from the drugs, don't try the drugs, and don't even wanna look at them.
Law enforcement officials in Johannesburg are also pursuing drug peddlers with the hope of stemming out the drug supply. Wayne Minnaar, spokesperson of the Johannesburg Metro Police Department, has ordered his corps to sweep the streets clean from drugs.
We want to get our city to be beautiful. All the bylaws must be obeyed.
Martin Zigmond, a volunteer at a drug addicts rehabilitation center in Hilpo, Johannesburg, says the war against drugs can still be won as long as those that are hooked are willing to change.
It sounds hard, but they really need to go really to the bottom until they realize that they need to change, and then they come, and then they're also willing to push through and get their life back.
And Vilakazi says one day he hopes to have his own rehab center that will be a life-saving home for all those who are now slaves of illicit drugs. Thuso Khumalo for VOA News, Johannesburg.